Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to the BFC, where we go into the trenches of the trading world. Tonight we have a couple great guests, but before we go anywhere, let's get the elephant out of the room, please.
This would be a backbreaker for Buffalo fans, and this would be the pedigree of championship teams.
There goes Hurts to the end zone, and the Eagles have won it in overtime.
That's the championship DNA.
And a backbreaker it was. And I got to vent on this for one brief second as a Bills fan and you know, being from Buffalo. I mean, like, we are just kicking ourselves in the ass, and I don't know how else to put it. And I got to say, and usually I'm not going to call out anybody. Yeah, Sammy Aker says, insert Bills joke here. Well, I just played it. You know what I mean? Like, when you go in before overtime and there's 20 seconds left, there's 20 seconds left in the game, and you have a Josh Allen that's been playing very, very well, and 20 seconds is like an eternity, especially when you have timeouts left. And I thought it was a very stupid move when we got the ball back and had 20 seconds left and didn't even try to get in field goal range, especially after that 60-yarder that Philadelphia hit, because that would have given our kicker some motivation to try and win the game, especially after the missed field goal and the blocked field goal. But I'm not gonna keep going on about that. I'm not going to do it because then I'll just get frustrated, you know, and that's not what we're about here. But yeah, that was rough. Absolutely rough. But so no, seriously, guys, thank you for joining me here tonight. You know, let's look at the chat and see who we have. All right, we have Arlex, Lance, Eric Tracy's here, John Don, Kelly O'Neill, Jazz in LA, and Bella Norris. Guys, everybody, welcome to the BFC. And oh guys, you are definitely going to want to stick around until the end because I want to discuss CGRA.
$100 billion.
Yeah, all right. Well, and anybody that's been following them knows exactly what I'm talking about. All right, let's get into this, guys. So without further hesitation, back for round two, let's bring in the CEO of Impact Fusion International, Mr. Marc Walther. Mark, welcome back to Buffalo Fireside Chats. How you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good. What's new? And by the way, congratulations, 14-year high on the share price. I'm a shareholder, and congratulations on that.
I wish I had control over that, but all I can do is create revenue.
Right on. All right. Now, I do want to just keep things going here and talk and get right to the nitty gritty and talk a little bit about what you guys have recently accomplished with India. All right, there's a lot going on with India. Wrong slide there, of course. Go figure. And I want to pull this up just to show everybody. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to let you have at it. All right, because I don't even know if I have the slide here. Way to start the show. Do diligence, my ass. Oh my God. See what happens when you over prepare? I have a ton of slides here today, guys, by the way. Ton of slides and tons to get through. So you have been in talks with India, essentially. And guys, look at the most recent PR. It's excellent. It's loaded with information. Tell us about it and tell us how it's going.
Well, it's going well, and what we're doing now is trying to see how we can massage something together. People don't realize, and maybe they do, maybe that's why they own the stock. There's a worldwide hunger and worldwide starvation, and it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And when you look at Brazil, they're holding back on any shipments of soy. And you look at China, they're the second largest next to Brazil in the amount of cattle that they have, and they're just importing but not exporting. And when you look at China, China is excuse me, I didn't mean to say China. India is not shipping any more rice, and period. So they're using it internally for their cattle. So the group that we're talking to, they have access to what they tell me 65 sugar mills, and I thought it was 30. And they also have milk cows, about 500,000 of them. So what they're looking to do is to feed these cows because there's not a lot of feed. There's not a lot of grain. I mean, Ukraine is not making. They're the 40% of the grain is manufactured or grown in the Ukraine. I don't see anybody growing grain in Ukraine. They're in the army. So the fit is good. They're shipping over some sample material for us because it's like I tell every customer, you have no value of what our product does until you use it. And it
Hmm.
doesn't take long, it just takes a couple of days, and you'll start seeing these changes. And so they're sending it over so we can make product with their bagasse and then ship it back to them. It'll only take me about an hour to process it, but it's a key thing that they need to understand the value. And when you're dealing with anybody in a negotiation in anything, customer or somebody that you'd like to build a plant in their country, they need to understand what the value is, and
I mean,
so they
when you're talking about 65 sugar mills and 50,000 cattle, now I don't know if anybody could do the math.
500,000
Or I'm
cattle.
sorry, 500,000 cattle. Numerically speaking, and from a profit perspective, I got to ask you, what is the profit margin on if you have that contract, and if, like you said, it was the sugar mill output's going to be more than double than what you expected. Like the profit margin you explained last time are huge. So
Mhm.
so what are we looking at numbers wise, give or take? If we, if things go forward as we're hoping is going to happen.
I can't really tell you because we don't really know. They wanted to come over and see our footprint. I showed them. I'm not showing them what is in Nutramastic. I never will. That's a key ingredient in what we make. The technology that's in our machine, they're not going to know that either.
Hmm.
So what is the profit going to be? It's going to depend on sell prices. It's going to depend on what part of the chain of revenue that we get involved in.
Hmm.
And I want to make sure our shareholders, that we make a lot of money on this. And so there's just all that conversation that has to be done. It's not going to happen overnight. And but what I like about it is they have the contacts. It's not
Mhm.
just talking about it. They have the contacts. So if you have some of the raw material, like bagasse, and you're producing, well, let's say you're producing like we do here. Our footprint has the ability to produce $135 million worth of product,
Hmm.
and that's at $150 a bale. So ultimately, what can we create over there? Don't know yet. And like any deal, it could work until it doesn't work. But
Okay, and real quick, because I want to keep things moving. That's a great answer, and thank you for that. A cost per head of cattle. You talked about this last time. Give us the number of the reduction that you've seen here in the United States.
um, many customers are saying they spend 350 a head per day. And when you go to our product without hay, and
Mm.
that's one of the things I keep telling people, take the line items out. You don't need hay. I've got pictures I'll be putting on Twitter tomorrow of a small ranch that hasn't used hay for a year.
Hmm.
Cattle look really good. So if you don't use hay, you don't use anything else but 80% SGP plus and 20% crude protein. That typically your ranch will be down to 45 cents.
Wow,
Big,
that's
what
that's
businessman
insane.
doesn't,
That's
yeah, what
great.
businessman doesn't understand that? So
Now I know that you guys had a container of bagasse that came from India, and so you guys are getting your testing underway, and it was imported to Napoleonville, correct, for testing?
yeah, and it hasn't gotten to us yet. So
Okay,
we're
when are you anticipating that you're going to receive that shipment?
about 23 days,
23 days.
to be
All right.
specific. It nothing moves fast in a container or on the ocean. We're not going to be using their bagasse in our plant because if you look around us in Louisiana, we've got mountains. I met with the head of agriculture, and that's what he called it. He says, "We don't have hills, we have mountains," and he's right. And they're growing rapidly, and with the lack of rain, there's more bagasse. So.
Okay. I have a couple of questions from the audience, and
Mhm.
here we go from Jess in LA. Last PR stated Marc had a new sales team for the AG Expo. Can he elaborate yet? Can you elaborate on that yet?
Yeah, it one thing I like about these guys is that they are in the cattle industry. There's about 9 of them, give or take. Some are full time, some are part time. What they're going to do is they're going to go. They're in every show in the country up till about June. and they're going to do their first show in West Monroe, and that'll be with cattlemen. It's the Louisiana cattlemen, and if you look at the map of the drought that is happening in Louisiana, whoever thought Louisiana would have grass fires? You know, just we're all swamp, but there's grass fires. I got one of my lakes that is almost down to dry, and that's I never would have thought that. But as we talked before, disaster brings change, and change doesn't happen by the people that are in the habit of doing things. It comes by somebody that's on the outside, like me. I come in and say, "Why are you doing it that way? And why can't you do it this way?" And the bottom line is that now we're starting to see a lot of people far and close that are saying, you know what, I'm getting no help from anybody, and I can get rid of hay because look at the price of hay. It's incredibly high, and the only guys that can get it are the big guys, and I don't know how anybody makes a profit at doing it.
All right, we have another question from the audience. Basically, what would the profit on feeding 1,000 cattle in the U.S. per month be? Cattle aren't always hungry. So to feed it, let's say for a month, what would it be for about 1,000?
Well, I guess the best way to say it depends on the ranch, and I'm not trying to dodge a question, but
Yeah,
I guess the best way to say it is take 350 a head and bring it down to 45 cents and multiply by 1,000 on both counts.
got it. Got it. Right on. Okay. Tell us a little bit about the sales team you have engaged. What's the monthly capacity for the facility?
For our facility, you're looking at um, I always run any plant I've ever had. I always run the sweet spot is 85%. So I figure this plant can produce about 136 million in sales.
Hmm.
This footprint. I think I can increase that by a few things that I want to do that we can talk at a later date. But
Mhm.
I can increase the efficiencies with a couple of things that I'd like to do. So the bottom line is that let's say 135. And people have to remember that our product is a commodity. So as we become more successful at what we're doing, the price of it is going to go up. And so it might be at 150 a ton now, but it could be at 200 a ton. And if I'm looking at the price of hay and alfalfa that is just going through the roof, why would I stay down in the cellar?
Hmm.
So the key for me is to show people that this product does what I said it would do. And this footprint will produce, so if I'm at 135 million at 150 a ton, what am I at 200? What am I
Hmm.
at 250? It's huge. And now I can go and take that same footprint and put it anywhere where there's bagasse. So if I want to
Hmm.
go to Brazil and help that Amazon situation that they have down there, where they're
Mhm.
knocking down the Amazon forest, trying to get more grazing grass, there's a big sugar mill down there. There's sugar mills all throughout the South, and then when you go over to India, there's lots of sugar mills. They don't
Hmm.
produce what we produce here in volume, but it is incredibly prosperous to change over a product that is a renewable
Hmm.
stuff that landfills. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't afford to take it to a landfill. They're just too expensive.
And now they have somewhere to take it and process it and reuse it into into their farm or into the farms in the area, especially with those refineries that are close to cattle ranchers. I mean that's going to prove very effective. I really think. A
Yeah,
lot we were talking about last time. A lot of the concern was that there haven't been university studies or whatever, and I know that we didn't really get an update last time. So could you actually um, is there any university study? People like to see those university studies, especially with things like this. How's that looking?
it's looking very good. I can't tell you who, but we'll be connecting with a very major university soon. And
That's
those,
excellent.
yeah, like I told one of the politicians in Louisiana that if we had to do all the tests are out there collectively. and we could group them together and come up with a lot of validation, which we've done. But if I had to do a complete test with weight gains, you're talking $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
What this industry can't wait. It needs help now.
It really does, and it's sort of funny. I just want to show a funny comment here, but he has a point. What's going to happen when the government makes meat illegal and makes us all start eating bugs? But there is that nervousness, and you see it. You see it happening in Ireland. You see it happening across the world, where they're starting to diminish their cattle supply. It's just a fact. And so a lot of people are concerned that they want you eating 3 shakes a day. They want you eating leaves. They want you eating a vegetarian diet. They want to steer people away from meat. And actually, there's a lot of scientific data and proof and studies that have been done that the healthier meat that you have, it's not and oftentimes a meat-based diet is not bad for you. As a matter of fact, sometimes for some people, it's actually healthier. So I found that very fascinating. I did meat-based for 2 months, and actually I felt great on it. I should probably go back to it, because you know what? When I introduced carbs and all that other junk, it's just like, oh my gosh. But like, I like the meat-based diet. I know we're not going to talk about the meat-based diet, but it seems like there is an attack on the meat industry. But I'm going to leave my opinion out of it. I just wanted to respond to Mr. Paw, and I did want to get another comment in from Pat. In a PR today, Ifus listed additional revenue sources in oil industry and other industries. Can he expand on other revenue sources?
Yeah, that's what's really neat about this product line. Nutramastic goes into everything we make. So I've been able to, with this manufacturing facility, we've been able to come up with Supreme AG. It's an oil absorbent. What does it do? It absorbs oil. And so if you throw it in a swamp or on water or anywhere, it absorbs the oil, because that's what bagasse does. It absorbs the oil, it breaks it down, it doesn't have to compost, and it actually, if you put it in water, it'll float to the bottom and get rid of it. It composts in 90 days. And then we've got another product line that is really comes from the plant and its ability to bag things. So when things get bad with hurricanes and floods and so forth, we can switch that one part of the facility over to making super sacks of sand. And you get good prices for that. When things are tough, you probably get about $185 a bag. And so it exceeds what you can get in the SGP Plus. The other one we have, which is kind of our scientist developed it, and he's got a very experimental garden at his property, and he lives close to the plant. And what we found is that he was always telling me that if you put bagasse as a mulch, it's going to kill the plant, it's going to smother it, and so on and so forth. So I said, I don't think you're right. So we started using SGP Plus, and the plants were growing triple the size. And
wow, that's unbelievable.
Roses, his vegetables, his all of his plants, and it's not just one; it's all of them. So we did testing, and what we realized is that SGP Plus changes the whole dynamic of a mulch. So, for instance, when you I'll be talking to one guy tomorrow that's got a manure problem. The best mulch would be a mixture of manure and SGP. That would get rid of a lot of things like smell, and it will biodegrade it down to so you can put it back in the property on the crops. So it's these 3 product lines are going to have to take sales teams that focus on that only. When you're over in the people in India tell me they have a very large business in cattle manure. So if we're looking at getting more revenue sources, it's even over there. And they were very excited about that. And so was I. The other thing is that I'm hoping by the end of December I can start taking pre-orders for the Intact Nutrition line, and that's a phenomenal line that is, I think, going to take off, highly profitable. It is it'll
I
take
did
off.
inquire about that last time. I remember that.
Yeah, it's I've got everything set, and all I have to do is um, is put it in stock, and I'll probably take pre-orders. We won't take anybody's money until we can ship it. So
I definitely want to try that product. So,
oh,
um, if
it'll be something like you've never had.
good,
And
and if you could update update us, keep us updated, and keep in contact with me because I want to be one of the first to know when that does become available. I do have a couple questions here that I want to keep things going. So I did want to Dean's comment here. Is this a licensing opportunity with companies like Cargill?
you know, I don't want anybody to take our product and put it on the shelf and shove it in the closet. If I knew somebody would take it and add momentum to it, I would say, yeah, I would think of that. But that isn't what that, and I'm not targeting Cargill and all, but that's what big companies do. And you got to look at their products that they sell. Why would they want to sell less feed? Because that's what's going to happen.
Well,
You don't need as much feed.
and a lot of times they don't like a solution to the problem. They like the problem because it's very profitable. Rob
Yep.
Stolarchuk, good to see you, Rob. Is there any analysis of the nutrition of the beef or milk from cattle feed with bag ass? Can you compare it to grass fed or grain fed or hay fed? So I think that is sort of a mixed question because we're removing the hay. So maybe you understand this question a little bit better than I do.
Well, it is a good question. And it's funny, as we've been talking about India, over there they look at milk fat. Over here we look at volume. Now, what do you find with the bags of milk? Well, they're twice as big, and there's some scientific reasons for that. The mama cow's healthier, and we even find that they can probably produce maybe 2 more progeny than they could before. That's all profit. And so with the bag of milk being bigger, and the first 90 days that the milk is creamier, better for the cow. I mean, where does any human or cattle, they get their immune system from the mama cow? And so yeah, we've seen big differences in that.
And
And
you're probably are you gonna be able to like solidify it more once we get that study done?
yeah, that we will. But
Okay.
put it this way: if you're a businessman, and I can tell you, I tell you what, you don't have to add one more asset. So if you got one
Hmm.
cow, you don't have to any more asset, and I can double your production, and you can see
Wow.
it in a week. Which
It's unbelievable. I the more I learn about this, the more excited I get, because I think it's going to impact our environment, impact the quality of meat that we have. I do want to keep things going. What is the feedback from that first feedlot that you supplied? Actually, we had the guest on the show last time for all the new viewers here. What's the feedback?
well, the feedback is still they're still collecting data, but I can tell you they're trying to do it very quickly. Why? Because of all the stuff we've been talking about
Yeah.
with the lack of feed, the lack of hay, and so forth. Um, they they are even looking at how do we get it shipped here? Can you produce this much every week? So I think it's going well. They just haven't. They don't share that kind of stuff. Ranches and dairies are very closed mouthed, and any technology that they get, they really don't share it too much with each other. But they will
Mhm.
tell somebody where they get product, but not the results. I mean, you look at a dairy. The dairies in the United States measure everything,
Wow.
and I'm glad they do. So I hope
Okay.
that question.
All right, good, good. Is there any resistance to the understanding of what SGP Plus represents? Um, what do you think people fully understand what you're able to offer?
No, I don't.
I had a
And
feeling you were going to say that.
yeah, I really don't. It's probably everybody involved. It's our toughest job because the uh, the product performs. But that's why a lot of times I'll have a guy come by and I'll say, "I'll tell you what, I'll give you a super sack, and
Mhm.
you do it the way I told you, and you tell me within the first week you don't have a change." And it's almost like if the USDA doesn't say that this is what we want you to do, then they look at these big bug eyes like your kid does when you tell them they can't do something. And but finally, they end up doing it because it's when you have disaster, it brings change. And so all I do is I stand there and say, well, what about me? What about me? If you use just bagasse by itself, they won't eat it. But if you use SGP with our technology in it, they'll eat it every time. So
Wow. Good.
That's the world we live in.
I mean, it's good because it's giving you an opportunity. You know what I mean? It's giving you an opportunity to share something that, a lot of people, we're creatures of habit. We want the same thing all the time. We just want the same old, but the same old is more costly. And especially when it comes to regulation, inflation, all these other like supply chain issues that we're talking about.
Right.
I have a couple more questions for you. And by the way, thanks for coming on. It's great to see you again, man. Very, very good to see you.
Anytime I can talk about SGP plus.
Well, you know what? You're one of my favorite guests because I think this whole topic is just fascinating. So could you talk about the dynamics of the footprint for SGP plus 2.0 worldwide where bagasse is grown?
Well, if I take an article that was written by an Indian reporter, and it was just in the last 2 weeks, you could probably Google it, but he said that if somebody could figure out how to unlock the lignin that is in bagasse, and he used those terms, it's a $460.9 billion market. Well, I'm going to tell you, we did it. We already did that. We unlocked lignin, and that's why when you use our product, you have no smell. If you had, when cows eat grass, you have loose stools and you have smell. But if it gets absorbed in the small intestine, then you have no smell. So we have no smell. We have no urine smell. And in many cases, like at the ranch in Jefferson, Texas, we have no flies. Do you know how big that is? When the USDA guy came out to visit the ranch, that's the first thing he noticed, how the cows are sitting around relaxed. If you're ever around cows and flies, you can't leave the car door open, man. They're all over the place. There's millions of them, and they spread disease. So that is. I hope I answered your question.
You absolutely did. 460.9 billion.
Yeah, look at his article. Somebody could unlock it, and we have done.
And if you could send me that article, I just email it to me. Have Rhonda email it to me. I'd love to take a look at that. Definitely, it's sure to be a good read.
I promise I will.
Yes, that'd be great. Lastly, we're approaching New Year's. We're all going to have our resolutions. What are your goals for 2024?
My goals for 2024 is to get those lines that we talked about activated and get people that can emulate what I do. Because if I try to be the only guy, I can tell you that's like a Coke bottle, man. It's just you can only do so much. I remember when we first started out, you had the intact line, and I would talk to 10 people, and I'd have half-hour conversations or hour conversations. And what did I get for that? $31.95 a bottle for 10 hours. So the best thing to do is create video like the one we have on our website. Fantastic. For Pixel to do that for nothing, that's pretty cool. And it's a great.
The video is excellent, by the way. The video is great, guys. Shout out to Sam from pixelworld.tv. There's Sam. I got it right. Not pixeltv.world. Like I kept saying in the last show, but shout out to you, Sam. Sam's a great guy, by the way. It's a great friend.
He did a great job, and I've talked to him, and I'm very thankful. But when I go to our website is set up basically for me to go to a customer and say that calls or I see, take a look at the video, then give me a call. And if you want to look deeper, look at the SGP Plus. We got a 34-page report. And if you want to look at what Mastic has done over the centuries, Mastic goes way back. So if you start looking at all the stuff that makes up our product line, it's an ancient formula. I just made it supercharged. And it's so I'm trying to do things that that expand what I do, and the sales staff is a good thing. Rhonda has been a lot of help. The ranch that we have has been a tremendous help, and if we go over to India, I'm sure that one of our staff is actually going to run the plant.
Excellent. Excellent. Guys, we have a big crowd tonight. And by the way, thank you for every single one of you for tuning in. If you haven't checked out ticker IFUS Impact Fusion International, please do so. Like I said, congratulations on reaching your 14-year highs. Proud shareholder here. Marc, thanks for coming on the show. I'm rooting for you. Big time.
That's an honor. That's an honor.
Seriously. All right. Thanks again. And hey, get this guy out of here. Get him out of here. All right, my next guest has been on this show many times and has done a ton of experience in investing privately, and I'm talking about none other than Brett Rosen. Mr. Brett Rosen, let's bring him in. Brett, welcome back.
Hey, everybody. Great to be back, as always.
I'm sure we have a couple people here to ask you questions tonight.
Hey, I can hardly wait.
I got to ask you, though, you being from this area, did you watch the game?
No, I don't want to get you going again, to be honest with you. Like, we're on a tight schedule. Like, I don't really
We are.
We're going crazy again.
No, I do want to just get right to it here. And I know, guys, if you have questions, put your questions in. Rob, I know producer Rob's going to be watching. If you just want to throw the star up, and I will take your questions, guys. I do want to go to the most recent tweet that Cyberlux put out. Dear Cyberlux community, our Quarter 3 2023 report, which includes our financial results as advised and reviewed by the accounting experts at Eisenamper, includes the following transformative actions: our breakthrough UAS results, our Dayron acquisition, and the refocusing of the company on defense technology, and the related disposition of the non-U.S. subsidiaries to make way for DoD contracts that require top-secret clearances. Our operating period ended September 30th, 2023, has set the stage for the company to capitalize on remarkable opportunities across the global defense market or technology markets. We are publishing our results in this press release. And so it goes on and on. But let's just talk about that. A lot of people are concerned of why haven't these posted to the OTC market site. What insight can you give us at this point? By the way, guys, that's a freaking killer update for us that have held on.
That's an amazing update.
It is an amazing update. So give us your thoughts on that straight away.
I mean, you mean my thoughts on the actual report or why they can't upload it?
Well, we're going to get to the actual report, but why can't they upload it?
I mean, like, I don't know the answer, but I mean, like, if I'm guessing here, if I'm just like making up an answer, it could be because they're like in ongoing legal battles with like OTC markets, and they took away their OTC IQ access. OTC IQ is like the system that you sign into to like alter things like company profile, disclosures, updating your filing your financials, everything pretty much. Press releases, the whole 9 yards. So like once you don't have access to that, usually you only lose access to it from like not paying your bills with OTC markets. But I doubt that that's the case with Cyberlux. You know what I mean? I think it's more about the whole ongoing CE review process, which is why like they're not letting them post anything new until it's in the right format or whatever the issue is. I mean, I don't know.
All right. I mean, like, that's sort of where we're at. That's sort of like the consensus that we've sort of arrived. Like, they can't access to do that, which the whole thing seems like a big catch-22 to me. It really, really does. And you mentioned Dayron, and I want to remind people, and I did some research on Dayron, and I found this, and you could check this out at governmentcontracts1.com. Since 2000, they have had almost $1 billion in contracts, 827 million. And when I say, and I've said this before, I think this is a pressure cooker. I mean, do you not think this is a pressure cooker too? I sort of think you do,
Yeah, I mean, Dayron was, I don't know. I went there in person. I got a tour of the facility. Deborah and I both went up there. It took a little longer than expected just because we had to get like government clearance. It was like they had to like check our IDs. They had to do all this stuff. Like, and then when we got there, we had to like they took our phones from us. Like, we weren't allowed to do anything. Like, I mean, it's
wow.
But the place was amazing. I mean, I got a tour from this guy who'd been working there for I don't know, 30 plus years. And these people love working there. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Like, I mean, most people hate going to work every single day, you know what I mean? Obviously, but like these people like love it. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, this guy was like so excited telling me about these products and stuff. And he's like, hey, oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm just geeking out over here. It's like a 65-year-old man telling me that he's geeking out. I mean, it was like hilarious, you know, like, but, their processes and like everything they have going on in there and like their business is insane. I mean, it validates Cyberlux, it validates everything. I mean, Marc was there, Bill Materani was there. So I mean, I was with them. And remember, this place is really close to my house. It's only like 25, 30 minutes from my house. It was easy for me to get there. I was told
you mentioned Bill Materani, guys. If you don't know who he is, I mean, check this out. I mean, the guy, he has a stacked resume. You could check him right out on LinkedIn, you know, and he is on the Overseas Security Advisory Council, which is absolutely huge. And so, you know, he has access to the government. I mean, the guy's resume is stacked, and I'm really hoping that at some point we could get him on once we go pink current, that we can have Bill and Marc on along with yourself. I mean, you got a chance to meet him?
Oh yeah, I had dinner with Bill
a
couple weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving, and then he was also at the tour. He was also at Dayron when I went there, so like I got to see him again. He is a cool guy. Like, I mean, he's been around this business for a long time, and he has like contacts that are like beyond invaluable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's stuff that you couldn't even build these contacts in years and years and years of living, let alone like. You know what I mean? And, like the ability that he has with different governments and different things, like the access that he's basically able to provide is amazing. You know,
we have a question from Paul. How long do you think it will take Cyberlux and Dayron to become $1 billion company?
All right, so this is like obviously this is all my speculation. Okay, like so, like I'm not like don't quote me on this. Don't yell at me if it happens sooner or no one ever says, "Hey, it was sooner than you said." Don't if it happens later than I said, don't hate me. So basically, what I think is this is like I don't believe there's going to be any reverse split in Cyberlux anytime soon. Okay, I believe that the stock can easily reach 25 cents.
The price targets, the 10-cent and 25-cent price targets that were talked about a year ago, correct?
Exactly. So 25 cents is not crazy. I mean, like, remember when you have hundreds of mils in like government contracts, verifiable this, you know, blah, 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 whatever, it adds up a lot more than you think. The multiples are more than like 2.5 or 3. I mean, you know. So, sorry, what was I saying right before that?
Basically, like we're talking about, he asked, when do you think it would be a $1 billion company?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. That was the question. Yeah. So here's the deal. I think Marc's going to buy back some shares and return them to Treasury. So, like, look, I think that the outstanding, let's just say that.
Are we still aiming for that 19.5 million?
I think it's somewhere around there. Like, let's just say that there's roughly 6 billion shares right now. I know I'm rounding up a little bit, but whatever. Okay. Let's just say that they get rid of 1.5 billion. Okay. Let's make up that number. Okay, $1.5 billion.
Hypothetically speaking, got it.
Now, look, it's not that out of the realm of possibility. They can buy stuff privately. They can buy them in the open market. They can buy them from existing shareholders who just want to sell blocks. Like, I mean, anything like that. All right. So let's just say roughly that it gets down to 4.5 billion shares outstanding. Well, if it's at 25 cents, it's $1 billion company already. I mean, look, I understand that it's not technically $1 billion company, but market cap wise, it is. So, like, I firmly believe that, like, they're headed for a lot more than the OTC markets. And I know that's every company's goal. They all tell you.
We hear that all the time. Yeah.
It's all anybody ever says. I get it. But the reality is 1 out of every 1,000 companies on the pink sheets makes it to the NASDAQ, like, legitimately. And, you know, doesn't get bounced back in a year or something because their stock is 1 cent on the NASDAQ. I mean, this is a company that, like, remember, Cyberlux used to be fully reporting for years. They already filed Ks and Qs, did all this. Like, so they're just going to get back on the fully reporting train, do this whole thing, you know, like, and they'll be totally primed. Government contracts, tons of revenue, you know what I mean? Primed for the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange. Now, look, I think it's probably like maybe a year out, maybe 18 months out, somewhere in the neighborhood, you know. But, like, look, if they got the outstanding down to 4.5 billion, Let's just say that, like I said, they got it up to a quarter, somewhere in that neighborhood, or you could even go higher than a quarter, but let's just say a quarter. Okay. Well, they could do a 20-for-1 reverse, which nobody would care about at all because if the stock was a quarter or 30 cents, everyone's already up money. Every single person who's in Cyberlux right now is up money if the stock goes to 30 cents. There's no one in the world that couldn't be up money because you could never have bought it for more than that, you know?
And I know a lot of Canadians that would be very happy about that, just for the record.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. and honestly, just so that people understand that really is like my conviction in this. Like, I have agreed to, with Marc, this past week, I agreed to convert one of my notes that just aged, the one that's I think it's November 8th is the date of the note, if I'm not mistaken. It might be not, maybe that's not right, but it's somewhere around there. It's 1.5 million. So it's with accrued interest, it's 1.65 million. So it's 5% interest a year. And I agreed to convert the entire thing off the books at 25 cents now. Like right now, my broker won't let me take it or sell it, but I'll have to take like a certificate, like a book entry statement. But like so that'll get rid of $1.65 million of their debt, and then I'll be converting it at 70 times the market price right now.
When will you be able to convert that note?
Well, I'm going to convert it in about 2 weeks, but it's a matter of converting it and selling it are not the same thing. So for example, just converting it means that the transfer agents issued the shares. I then have to deposit those shares at a broker to sell them. The problem is no broker lets you sell stock or deposit them with a caveat emptor.
Okay. When you do release these shares into the when you do start selling, are you going to do it tastefully? I just got to ask. I know we always worry about people just dumping with these convertible notes, and and I'm not bashing Ilus or Cybl or any of these guys, but it's nice to invest in companies that don't have these convertible notes, just because
there's no other way to get money.
Yeah, I know, especially in the last year.
The only other way to get money is a registered offering, like an S1 or something.
Yep.
And that's also dilution. That's the same thing. They're selling a ton of stock to people ahead of time that all are selling it at the same time. At least if it's a debt converter, it's one person. Like, you know what I mean? So in the case of Cyberlux, what you're asking me is this: if you do the math on this, I'm getting 6.6 million shares for $1.65 million. Like, you see what I mean? That's who cares what I sold? In all seriousness, I never, ever, no matter what the situation is, go above 10% of the trading volume in a day ever. So if a stock trades 100 grand in a day, I'm never selling more than $10,000 of it in a day. You know what I mean? If a stock
it makes it harder to sell. If there's no volume for it. I mean, so if the volume is there to sort of embrace it, then that's a different story. Like, if there's no volume to stock, good luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I mean, today, someone asked me on Twitter, am I involved in some stock promotion with DDDX and do I know anything? I'm like, look, guys, I have nothing to do with stock promotion or IR or any of that bullshit. Seriously, I pick stocks that already have volumes because if I know that I have to sell, I remember no one gives millions of dollars to a company that has no volume. Think about this. Let's say you went in the open market and you bought $1 million worth of whatever, any OTC stock. I mean, let's just say that stock has $20,000 a day of trading volume. How long does it take you to get out of the stock now when you're selling $2,000 a day of it? You know what I mean? It's 500 days, which is that's 2 years of trading before you can get your money out. So when people ask me about stock promotion and stuff, no, I pick stocks that already have volume. That's why I tell CEOs all the time, look, I mean, I love your company, I love this, but how can I possibly, you have a market cap of 8 million and you want 12 million. What are you giving me? 1.5 of your company? You know what I mean? It's at some point, math has to come into play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I understand. I understand this more now than I did if I was just trading as a retailer. I know. And by the way, Triple DX, we're both private shareholders there, and you know what? I think that cheers to that. And you know what? We're gonna, it's nice to see things from the other side. And one thing that I've learned, guys, a lot of is that there are two sides of the coin. So when you hear about dilution and notes convertible, yeah, they definitely impact the share price. They definitely impact all these things. And I think that overall, I think you've gotten a pretty bad rap for a lot of these things, especially when it comes to Cybl and Ilus and whatnot. you know, but like you
Those
said,
are
it's sort of a
territory.
necessary evil. Not, I even want to use the term evil. It's a necessity, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So, but Jazz in LA said this. Given Daytron's long history, any notable changes in leadership within their product lines, or will things remain steady until at least full payments are made?
I mean, I'm not privy to that stuff, but like from what I could tell is they're still making their own products. Like, I mean, because like Daytron had an enormous military business before Cyberlux was even into the picture. So like, I'm pretty sure that like from what I saw, I'm pretty sure like that like they're definitely building their own products and stuff. I mean, because like it didn't look like some of the stuff that I saw didn't look like they were building drones or like products for Cyberlux.
Okay.
So,
By the way, hey, anybody that has Ilus questions, I want to cover the CYBL stuff first, then I'm going to move on to Ilus with you. But I did have, let's see, it's a comment from Burton. Brett, thanks for all of your input as always. From a business perspective, I'm really struggling to understand why convert now versus let the interest accrue. Plus, shed some light on why you are mega bullish.
so number
You
one,
did just explain this like a little bit.
I understand. So basically, like, yeah, the interest accruing isn't really that valuable to me. So like, for example, like the interest on these notes is 5%. So it's on $1.5 million note, it's $75,000 a year. And now I'm not diminishing that amount of money. It's a lot of money. Okay. Like it is, but on $1.5 million, it's really not a ton of money. Okay. So it's more valuable to me to convert the debt off the books and show the market that I believe in the stock so much that I'm willing to convert my debt at 25 cents a share. I mean, think of this, like any realistic investor would go back to the company and say, hey, look, your stock's 0.003 right now. Like I'll tell you what, I'll do it at 0.002, or I'll do it at 0.025 or like whatever, that would be nice. Most of them would want like 0.001. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I'm doing the exact opposite. So now the debt goes off of Cyberlux's books. You know what I mean? And then it's basically a mimic of like the old Canadian oil and gas model, like from back in the day. Like people very rarely know about this, but like how they used to like raise money back in the day was these oil wells. Is they used to, let's just say they had an oil well that was technically valued at $50 million. Well, then someone makes an investment in there. A private investor made an investment into it with a value of $500 million. Like 100 times its value or whatever, 10 times its value. You know what I mean? And then what that was like, oh shit! Like someone must know this. Like they must know something about this. Like this guy must know. Like there's no reason he would put money into this at this price if he didn't know something. Blah blah blah. And then other people start piling on. Now look, I'm not trying to get people to pile into Cyberlux because I think it's going to happen anyway. And I'm not even remotely worried about it. Like, and quite honestly, I hope it doesn't happen enormously right away because I want Marc to be able to buy back as many shares as possible before the thing skyrockets. And like, remember, the higher the price goes, like the less
you're going to remove from, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm like, look, I mean, we're talking about like, we want to remove like 500 million, 1 billion shares. I don't want to remove like 41 million shares. Like that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
That's like shooting a bullet at a train.
I mean, yeah. I mean, think about this. Like, I mean, there were 700 million shares that were lost from like the guy who's like, grandma died or whatever.
Oh,
like,
I remember that. Yeah,
yeah. They couldn't find the certificate or like whatever it was. I mean, like,
it's. Yeah, you know what? It's just fun. It's just so funny the tales with all these note holders, and you do have situations like that happen from time to time. And I remember we discussed that actually on our first BFC interview with Marc. So thanks for elaborating on that more. I really appreciate it. All right, I just want to ask. I did have some questions that were well, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep on the CYBL right now. I know I just want to keep things going. I know that, and I do have a little more time than I told you before, but I know that people have a lot of questions. Guys, take advantage of this. And so, by the way, thank you everyone for tuning in. I want to see 149 right now, 149 likes on this video. Guys, I love doing these Wednesday lives, this BFC due diligence. It's freaking awesome. It really is. So get those likes, subscribe, and become part of the BFC family. All right. How does the Daytron acquisition help Marc market and manage CYBL? Does Brett have any insight into the potential synergy between the companies?
I mean, look, once again, this is something I'm not like, I mean, I'm not on the inside of this one, but like from what I can tell, I think it's about manufacturing. And I think it's about their processes and the way that they do things. And I think it's their ability to like increase productivity like exponentially, which is how these orders get filled in a more timely like manner. Like, you know, everyone like with CYBL, and it's funny, like everyone was mad when there wasn't like $100 million of like on revenue on the books. Like they were just supposed to like slap some drones together with duct tape over the course of like 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like it was like the funniest thing in the world. Like, do you know how much time and effort and how many people and products and like stuff it takes to build thousands or hundreds of drones? I remember like each one is thousands of little parts.
And those orders aren't due until March.
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you how crazy it was. Like we were like walking through there, and like the people who work on everything, like we had to wear these electromagnetic, static, whatever the hell, like vest things, like art smocks. Everyone's like grounded. They have like things on them, like rubber on their feet to like make it like beyond their sneakers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because like you can't like fry these chips or whatever the hell. I mean, it's nuts.
Wow. All right, we have a question from Dwayne. Any guess? We know Dwayne. By the way, you know what? Hey, the last time we did this, you took some heat on social media for this, and so did I. You know, so hey, I'm just a question asker. When do you think it'll be resolved?
All right. The last time I answered this question, I was under the impression that it was a different situation than it was. Okay. I was under the impression that like a different lawyer was handling it, and that isn't what was happening. Okay. Like now I know for a fact that there's a lawyer that like in a law firm that is top ranked in like the country in this thing. And I know for a fact they are working on it with OTC markets. Like I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not on the calls. I don't know any of that. I do know that like it is getting resolved. Like, do I think it's going to be resolved tomorrow or the next day? No. I think like we're looking at like, in all seriousness, like we're looking at sometime in the next, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think it's in the next 30 to 60 days, sometime like that.
Right on. I like Paul's sentiment here. Cyberlux plus Dayron equals beast. You guys better buckle up because I think it's going to be absolutely huge. I want to move on a little and talk a little Ilus. And if I forgot anything, guys, you know, because I'm trying to do my best to bring you guys the DD here, and so like that's why I'm glad I have this open chat. So make sure if you have any questions, let's talk Ilus a little bit. Okay. Sentiment is down. People are frustrated. There is, and listen, Nick put out a very valid video, I think, a couple weeks back regarding Ilus and regarding the macroeconomics. I understand what he was saying, and as a matter of fact, this year has been a lot like what he sort of predicted last November when he did put out this video, or it was November, December, he put it out. What is your overall sentiment as the biggest shareholder in Ilus? Lay it on me, because I want to see the reaction that you have for CYBL. I want to see that with Ilus. Has been my bread and butter. So I love Ilus. Yeah. I'm ultra supportive. So what is your sentiment there?
I think this. I spoke to Nick this morning on the phone. Like, I mean, I speak to him at least once or twice a week. My sentiment, to be honest with you, is exactly the same as it was. Like, I'm not wavering in this. I don't think there's anything bad with it. I'm still happy with it. I think that very, very, very few people understand like the actual intricacies of this and like what goes on with Ilus and like the weight that they carry, like Ilus carries every month. So like, for example, all the subsidiary companies that are underneath Ilus that are like, on their books and like everything, blah, blah, blah. Like, like the administrative costs and all of like the turning the light switch on kind of thing, like those kind of like bills, that's all covered by Ilus. That's why the rollout of each one of these is so important. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? And the first domino in that thing is QIND. Okay. So if QIND or when QIND uplists, I think we're looking like, in all seriousness, if everyone wants my opinion, I think it's going to be sometime in January, just because it's really hard to get anything done between Thanksgiving and the New Year. And honestly, you don't really want to IPO yourself on like December 20th because there's no one around to buy your stock. I mean, and it's all serious. People aren't buying stock in December. They're buying Christmas presents. Okay. Like, unfortunately, like, so like you want to IPO your stock basically like mid-January, you know what I mean? Like something like that. So like, that's kind of like what I think it is. But what that will do is that'll set the tone for the fact that Nick can perform. Remember, I said 1 out of 1,000 companies uplist. Well, there's their 1 out of 1,000 right there. Do you know what I'm saying? Now Nick can do it again. You know what I mean? Like with like whether it's ERT or whether it's CGRA or DRC, whichever one it is next. You know what I mean? Like it's all primed and ready. And then also let's just say the QIND uplist. Let's just say they do it at what, $4 a share on the New York Stock Exchange. I'm making up this number. I mean, who knows? I mean, let's just say that it goes to $5 a share. It works out a little bit. It goes up 25%. That's not out of the realm of possibility. Like that's not nuts at all. That happens all the time. Okay. Ilus owns 77% of this whole thing. I mean, like, and everyone needs to always be reminded of that because that's what I'm reminded of. I mean, like, look, the only reason that I've invested, $8, $9, $10 million into Ilus is because like of this. Like they own X percentage of all of these things. So when all of these uplists, they get their payday, the dividend, whatever you want to call it. I mean, like Ilus is never just going to make a bunch of money and decide to like pay me back $8 million. But as each one of their like subsidiaries uplists, they can write into the S1, hey, look, we're going to pay them back $1 million here, $2 million here, blah, 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 blah. And that's how I get paid back with my interest. You know what I mean? And then therefore I don't have to sell stock in a lot of stock in the meantime, because look, I don't want to sell stock at like 0.004, 0.003, like any of that crap. Like it's all nonsense to me. Like, I mean, like the thing about this, like Cirque, for example. I mean, like, I know we all know. I mean, like, I know there's a 310 going on. There's something we can do about it. It sucks. But like, I mean, the stock, 100 million shares of that stock right now is worth 150 grand. I mean, like, remember, if you like went to your broker and said like, hey, I have 100 million shares, like, oh my God, I'll take you on as a client right now. Because to them, they would think it's like tons and tons and tons of money. You know what I mean? Like I have 100, no, it's actually at 0015. And then the broker says, what is 0015? They don't even know what it means. You know what I mean? So like,
well, it's funny. Well, you know what? You're explaining it correctly. I get it. Don did have a question. Can you explain how all your conversions work on Ilus?
Sure.
So when you do convert it, go ahead.
Sure. No worries. So basically, like most of the stuff that I have in Ilus converts at like 50 cents. So it's way out of the money right now, like way out. Like, and when I say most of it, like of the 9 million or whatever that we have of that I have of Ilus, I would say probably like around 8 million of it converts, like a little over 8 million, 8.2, somewhere in the neighborhood, converts at 50 cents. There are the rest of like the 800,000, 700, the 600 grand, whatever the hell is left. Okay. Like whatever the math is, converts at 1 cent. Okay. Which is basically like the market price it is right now. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very, very small discount. Like now I haven't provided it. I mean, I've been giving money to Ilus, but I mean, except for like last month, I mean, it was like I gave him a little bit of money because I had to pay off the Discover note. So like not a lot of the money has actually gone to Ilus. It's gone to like paying off like old debts and all this other crap. I mean, I haven't like had a need. I mean, like I'm not worried about going over like the whole like 4.99% or any of that stuff. So like in other words, like I still have X amount of shares that I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I haven't had any pressure to sell it is what I mean. Like I'm not trying to like dump stock of like right now to get rid of like that's what's so funny to me when people say that, like, like, hey, look, you dumped 2 million shares today. I'm like, oh yeah, like 2 million shares is worth 20 grand. What does 20 grand matter against 9 million? Like, I mean, that's shooting a BB gun at a tank. Do you understand what I mean? Like that doesn't even matter. I mean, like, remember the accrued interest is more than that. Like, so it's stupid. Like, I mean, like, I understand in other terms, like if someone was like, oh, I sold 20 grand worth of stock today. Like, yeah, it's crazy. But like, I wouldn't do it because it doesn't help me. Like, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, think about this. Even if I sold $20,000 every single day, which wouldn't even be realistic with Ilus, but like, let's just say $10,000 every single day. Let's make it something a little bit that might actually be able to happen. Okay. I mean, that means that every 100 days is $1 million. So I could sell little less than $2.5 million a year. It would take me years to pay myself back at that rate. Mm-hmm. Remember, like my value in this is believing in these companies and getting them to the NASDAQ. Like I get written into the S1, I get S1 shares, I get IPO, whatever. That's how I get paid back. I mean, at this point, like I said, do you really think I'm going to be able to go in the open market and sell like $9-10 million worth of Ilus stock anytime soon? Of course not. Like, I mean, look, and I like when people say to me like, oh, you sold 7 million shares today. I'm like, did I have traded 1 million shares? How did I sell 7? Like, oh, you use dark pools. Dark pools? Like, what is it, billions? Like, what are you guys serious? I mean, like, no.
Well, it's always fun to hear the tales of Brett, especially like, man, you've told some great stories on this. I mean, sometimes horrifying stories, in regards to some, I mean, and we've seen it in real time, and you're pretty transparent about, what you have going on and the investments that you made. And you know what, if it's an OTC company, chances are you invested in it. I'm just sort of joking, guys. No, he has not invested in every OTC company, but
a lot of the real ones, like, I mean, it's true though. Like, well, that's what I look for. Like a lot of like real companies. Like, I'm not like, I want companies that don't have debt the same way you guys do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because like, remember, it's just as detrimental to me for like some debt converter to come in. Like, so for example, let's take Ilus, since we're talking about them. Look, I mean, like, that wasn't me dumping all that stock before. That was 1800 diagonal lending or whatever the fuck they call themselves now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, which is the Kramer brothers. Like, that used to be Power Up or whatever. They change their name every 6 months because they screw everybody over. You know what I mean? And I mean, like, they sold X number of shares right away. The stock was like 2 cents or 1.8, 1.9, whatever it was at the time. Went down to like under a penny, settled in around a penny. I mean, like, that was like terrible. You know what I mean? And since then, at least it's rebounded a tiny bit. You know what I mean? Which is great. But like,
I mean,
I paid it off. Okay, like it's gone. Like, so like, this is what happened. Like, I get a phone call the day that it's like the morning of that it's due. So with toxic lenders, the morning that it's due means they've already put in a notice of conversion. They've already sent it to the transfer agent. There is no grace period. There's no anything. Okay, so like, unfortunately, like, it took 2 days to get like to get them paid off, so that like they dumped stock for 2 days. I mean, and you remember when it was. I mean, the stock traded like 10 times its normal volume in a day or whatever it was. Like, you know what I mean? So they did that for 2 days. They dumped it, and then they called up Nick and were like, hey, look, for 82 grand, we'll get rid of like the rest of this stuff. So like, I'm like, fuck, really? Like, so I just like, I gave them the money. They paid it off. So there'll be no more dilution. It's gone from like the note's completely gone. It's off the books. So like, it's not like I bought it and I'm converting into shares. I gave Ilus the money that then they like wrote a check to them and paid it off. So it's gone. There's no like anything.
Okay. I know that's the biggest, the biggest concern is we want to see substantial growth. We want to see less of this, these notes. I have to ask, are you, do you have any knowledge? I know they're facing like the legal issues, especially with the notes. Actually, that Nick won that case, with the note, which is great. There probably will be an appeal or whatever it may be, but could you fill us in with anything else that's going on? I know that they had a couple issues with people just trying to get shares and get more shares of the company. It's almost as like they didn't expect it to be successful and it's big, and they're trying to capitalize on it. It almost seems like a hijacking, in my opinion.
This happens all the time. Like, so like, people come out of the woodwork. That's why when I invest in a company, I always go in and pay off all the old convertible debt. I go, show me all the convertible debt. Like, whether it was like Ilus, it was all the GPL debt. Like, you know what I mean? Like with like CYBL, I paid off a couple of those old notes that they had still. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because people come out of the woodwork. Okay. Like all of a sudden, the college roommate of the uncle of the CEO of the guy who like used to own the company before this guy like comes like, oh shit, I have a convertible note that converts at 001 and your stock's 15 cents right now. Oh fuck, like, so you're gonna get 150 times your money back like right now? Like, wait a minute, I didn't even know who you were, like, and like unfortunately like this happens a lot. Now it only happens when the companies work out, obviously. So that's why, like, I've learned the importance of like clearing out this type of debt, like anything that's convertible, because like,
I mean, were they made aware of these notes? I mean, like, or were they just like dark notes, like basically like they weren't like, was it from previous management of issuing?
It's mostly from previous management.
Yeah.
So like they're not dark.
That should nullify it. And in my opinion, like when you buy a shell or purchase a shell and everything's disclosed and the purchase goes through, it blows my mind that somebody from like 15 years ago could have a note and still have it applied to a completely different company within that shell, within that.
Well, it would have to be on the books. And look, I mean, I invest in companies all the time where then they change their name. I mean, I put millions and millions of dollars into Block Quarry when it was ISWH. You know what I mean? Like, so it was ISW Holdings. I mean, and most of the notes still say that. So the changing of the name isn't like the biggest like deal. It's just like, it's just the way that these companies go about like, I don't know. everyone needs to be more transparent. Like you know what I mean? Like these
Mhm.
CEOs need to come on here or go on whatever medium they're doing, and they need to actually like say like, hey, look, we're doing ABC by March 15th, okay? And then what they need to do is they need to come back on March 16th and say, hey, look, yesterday we delivered ABC, blah blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like there's no follow through, there's no follow up, like there's no one's holding anyone accountable, and I think like people are starting to do that now. Do you know what I mean? Like people are starting to get held accountable. Like no one's just buying stock because some idiot on Twitter told them to. You know what I mean? Like people are actually like, hey, look, man, I want to hear the CEO talk. Like you know what I mean? I want to see him on Buffalo Fireside Chats. I want to see the guy. I want to see how he is under pressure. Like let's ask him a tough question. I mean, because that's like what I would do. I mean, like, when I talk to a CEO for the first time, I'm like, hey, look, how much money do you need? $1 million. Okay, what would you do with the $1 million? Oh, we haven't really like written it out yet. I'm like, you actually are asking for $1 million and you haven't told me, you don't even know what the fuck you're using it on. I mean, like that happens all the time.
You want to see a plan.
Yeah. Like, don't ask for money until you know what you're using the money for, ever. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness! You know what? It's true, and that's you want to see a roadmap, you want to see a plan, and that's one thing that attracted me. CYBL and Ilus, the fact that they were transparent, they're willing to lay out the roadmap, and I do want to get because this is an open Q&A. I know we're on a time crunch because you got to get out of here in about 15 minutes or less.
Yes.
And I'm going to hold true to that. And by the way, I want to say thank you for coming on, and I hope the next time you do come on, by the way, is with Marc and Bill. And I think it's that's going to be the BFC to end all BFCs.
Yeah, I mean, they got to get the CE off first because I don't think they're allowed to do interviews, and so like that is. I mean, I'm not exactly sure on the legalities of it, but I don't think they're allowed to do interviews just yet. Yeah. But I mean, look, they'll definitely come back on because like, look, they have like a story to tell. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's so much more than just like. I mean, look, remember like there was a full page article in the Wall Street Journal, and remember it wasn't like one of those like ads that you paid for. This was like an actual like. They wrote it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't paid for. I mean, that's different. I mean, like that I haven't really seen too much. Like, honestly, like, I've only seen like maybe my 17, 18 years, I've seen like one or two, maybe like companies that were legitimately in the Wall Street Journal where they didn't take out an ad space. Like, yeah, like that's not the same thing, like this is like was an article written about them. Remember, there was like the picture of Marc in there. I mean, I mean, it was impressive. And then the other thing is, it can all be verified. Like, and that's what people do nowadays. So now they're like, all right, good, and prove this. Okay, go on the DoD website; it shows up. You go on the, the whatever it is, like the allocation thing for the US.gov or whatever it is, the US.
There it is, clear black and white. It's right there.
Yeah, it's right there. It says Cyberlux K8 drones. It's, I mean, like everywhere. You can't even argue with it.
What's better PR than a DoD bill that came out?
Exactly. And look at Sam. I mean, Sam Aker said the exact same thing. I mean, he's like, look, this is at this point, they've actually given you everything. I mean, this is just
that was pretty funny. Actually, that was a good video. He goes, well, I don't know if I'm going to do another video on CYBL, and then that one PR came out, and I call him. I go, you just when they think you're out, they drag you back in. But it was good to see him give a positive response. And shout out to Sam Aker, by the way. I think he's really growing with his channel. If you get a chance to check him out, not a lot of people take the time to break down filings. You won't find that, but now you have. So check out Sam Aker's channel.
You really should pay attention because in all seriousness, like I can tell you right now, 10 years ago, I would say the percentage of retail traders that read a 10K or a 10Q or a filing, whatever you want to call them, like maybe 3 to 4%.
More often now.
And now people are taking the time to like learn about like, like, look, the best thing that I can tell you is always read the convertible debt section. Like, okay, like go see what convertible notes and see the times that they were issued. So like, you know what I mean? Like, so for example, like if it's going to be a 6-month hold, that they're a fully reporting company, whatever it is, go see what's about to be 6 months old. Cause then you're going to know that like the stock price is going to go down. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, and I just think that like, people need to like, I think that Sam's done a really good job at like showing people of like what to look for. Like, look, there's a lot of numbers and filings that don't really matter. Okay. Yeah. Like there's a lot of guesstimates. There's a lot of forward-looking statements. There's a lot of whatever. I mean, in PRs and stuff too, you know what I mean? Like what I'm saying is like Sam shows you how to like actually look at the numbers that matter. And I think that's important.
Yeah, it is. All right. I want to fire off some questions here and see if you can answer as quick as possible.
Boom.
Boom, and there it
game
is.
show. Okay.
All right, that's right. You have 10 seconds. All right, no. Do you know what's going on? All caps. He's screaming. Do you know
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going on with? Come on, man. Kill the caps. But his name is in lowercase. I don't get it. But hey, do you know?
Okay.
I'm just kidding, Lance. I'm just busting your balls a little bit. Do you know what is going on with Ilus as far as ERT acquisition and QIND uplist, which you already talked about, the QIND uplist? Anything about ERT?
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really have anything new on ERT just because I know that the main focus right now has been on QIND. I mean, at least most of my conversations with Nick are about that. I honestly, I haven't asked him about it in a while. So, I really have no new information.
Got it. All right. I'm just going to ask another question.
Boom.
Brett, any thoughts on officially joining the board of Ilus or CYBL? Not uncommon for significant investors to have board representation.
Yeah. Usually, I don't join the board or any of the directors of any companies just because I like to maintain non-affiliate status. You know what I mean? I don't want to and it's not that I'm trying to sell a bunch of stock, but the thing is once you become an affiliate of the company, you can only sell 1% of the stock every 90 days. And it's not that I'm trying to sell way more than that, but in some companies it is way more than that. So for example, if a company has sometimes I might sell 4% in a quarter. Or 3% in a quarter, which is 3 times the allotment that you're allowed to do, which I mean, it's not, the board seat isn't worth it to me. Do you know what I mean? But however, I could be awarded a board seat that I could appoint to someone else. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I'm not saying that's not common either, but it's more common on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ because where the board actually matters. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to say the board actually matters there, but a lot of times in these OTC companies, you guys have all seen this. It's one guy who's the board of directors. What is the board meeting? Just you're having lunch yourself and you just sign the paper. There is no vote. I mean, there's nothing to vote on. There's one guy. So in the NASDAQ, there's no such thing as a sole director. You can't just have one person on the board of directors. You need at least 3 or 5. You need one woman, there's diversity on the thing. I mean, it's just not the same thing as it is on the OTC markets. They get away with a lot more.
Got it. Sandmaker Finance. Brett, any comments on potential litigation by CERC against David Macy or a likely ongoing FBI investigation against him?
Yeah. So there's their new lawyer they hired is Jason Ostendorf. He's pretty impressive. I mean, I actually, funnily enough, I talked to him this morning too, or this afternoon. He has been a litigator for years. He was also a shareholder of CERC, and he basically, he was a shareholder of CERC. He bought in based on Massey's, promises, forward-looking statements, whatever you want to call them. And now he's the company's hired him as in-house counsel to basically go after Dave and hold him accountable for what he did to the company and the shareholders and the situation that he left them in. So to me, there's no better lawyer than that. This guy's got a personal bone to pick. He lost money himself. I mean, I actually love this. You know what I mean? And it's in-house counsel. Do you know what I'm saying? He's getting X amount of money for his salary, whatever it is per year. And then, you know what I mean? You don't have to pay this guy $1,000 an hour to go to court. I mean, to me, this is a really, really, really good thing. I think that the days of settling debts with stock are over. Okay, that's what I think as far as CERC goes. I mean, look, the 3810, there's nothing they can do about it. It was under Massey's thing. It was already all done. I mean, the new CEO inherited it. It already started. I mean, it sucks, but no one expected the stock price to be 001. I mean, when I bought into the stock, I bought 13.8 million shares of the stock for $9 million. You know what I mean? Of CERC. I mean, the stock went to $3 a share, so it was semi worth it. But I mean, I never in a million years would have thought the stock would be sub-penny right now. And,
wow.
And it's just unfortunate because when I invested in February of 21, they had 140 million shares, just under it outstanding. That's why I got 13.9 million shares, because it was exactly 10% of the company basically. And I mean, that was crazy. And now they have 20 times that in the outstanding. I mean, that's dilution. Okay. Remember, dilution is when you add shares and the stock price goes down. If you add shares and the stock price goes up, that's building your market cap. I mean, that's amazing. Unfortunately, CERC did not build their market cap. They destroyed it,
Okay. Thank you for answering that. Matt B has a ton of questions in here, and guys, by the way, I'm trying to get through as many as I can.
All right, fire them off. Let's go, Matt.
Fire them off. All right, Matt B's coming at you. All right, here it is. I'm just gonna throw them all up here because I'm transparent here at the BFC. So when I say I don't ask the tough questions, so get out of here. No, Matt B says you've referred to your downside protection multiple times previously, but in the same breath, say that they don't protect you because you still lose money. Can you explain that? And he also goes on, can you clarify this? The old notes that you buy out, are they automatically canceled, or do you just own them? And that's the downside protection you refer to.
No. So the downside protection that I have with like Ilus, for example, if that's what we're asking about, I don't even know.
I think he might be referring to Ilus, but I maybe BLQC, because he also does mention BLQC flows 80 million. By my account, you've been issued 40 million. You didn't make any money off of those.
I mean, I invested $15 million in Block Quarry that they've never paid me back $1 on anything. So like if you believe that I got more than $15 million for 40 million shares, I mean, like, I'd love to see the math on that one. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah. And he goes on, I've noticed that your biweekly monthly conversions on BLQC have stopped. Why?
I did a conversion. I don't even know. I think like a month or two ago, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, maybe.
By the way, I got to ask you about BLQC because I'm a private holder as well. Actually, a couple of us are. How are you feeling about the share price and the movement now as of recent?
I mean, quite honestly, I think it's all fake and artificial. I think that there's a group of people that are purposely running the stock. Like,
really?
And it's very, very, very obvious. I've already had inquiries about it from several people. The reason I say this is because if you watch the way that it trades for 5 minutes or 6 minutes, and then it stops for an hour and a half, and it trades again after like it lulls a little bit, and then they're like trying to mimic like a like a cup and handle. It's like super funny, like, you know what I mean? But
I've seen that multiple times, and they can pull that any given day. That's the truth.
Yeah, and you can see what they're doing now, and there's only a certain amount of money that you can tell because like it's trading less and less volume, less and less number of shares as the stock price goes up. Like I said, they're trading 50, 60, 100 grand a day, like whatever the hell the math comes out to be. But they're just churning it back and forth. You know what I mean?
Right on. Man, you have answered a lot, and I know. I could always tell when trolls are having a little bit of fun.
Well, I don't mind. This doesn't bother me at all. This is like
I wanted to say before the end, it is a good time, but you know what? The truth is a lot of people don't want to read filings. A lot of people just want to just like regurgitate what they see on StockTwits, which is, by the way, one primary source of information. StockTwits. Lots of people have StockTwits degrees. My gosh, yeah. I want a StockTwits degree when I grow up and spend millions of hours a day in a year. Okay, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm just being a little sarcastic.
You can go get your medical degree with Dr. Dre then. You know what I mean? Like, sure.
My gosh. No, but in all seriousness, there is so much to be learned, and I got to say, in the last, I want to say thank you actually to you. Because, I started out, I was in the class of 2021. I was a trader, but instead of becoming a bitter bag holder, I wanted to learn about why I lost money or why I made money and why was I successful? Why wasn't I successful? Do you know what I'm saying? And there's reasons why. And like having somebody like you, who I consider a friend, and I'm really appreciative of our conversations. I ask you questions often. I just want to say thanks for one, coming on the show and being supportive and being as transparent as you are. And keep coming on, and I appreciate your knowledge, and so thank you very much.
Hey, believe me, I'm more than happy to do it. Like I said, I mean, like, I want people to learn all about this stuff. I want to be like I said, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. I'm not trying to hide things from people. I mean, what other lenders ever posted pictures of their promissory notes on Twitter? I mean, like, probably no one. You know what I mean? Like, so I remember, like, no one's ever had a lender or an investor to like even yell at, basically, because like no one ever like says their name. No one ever comes on Twitter. See, that was my biggest mistake. I never should have come on Twitter. You know what I mean? And the second I came on Twitter, I'm getting like, I got more hate mail. I mean, I swear. I mean, it's awful. I feel like it's like the Palestinian or something. It's like awful. Like I'm getting like hate mail, like Hamas hate mail or something.
Yeah. Well, no, it's good. And it is intense out there, and you just got to know. Like I could just know at this point what to block, what to read into. Like, and this is the truth, guys. Okay, and I'm just gonna say this before I let Brett go, and I think he's gonna agree. All right. if you're invested in a stock, if you're a trader, if you're somebody that doesn't read filings and you're just sort of whimming it, and you ask on stock, let's say Twitter, to a CEO account of a company a question, and you don't get an answer that you like, and then you go to the BFC Live and you ask a question and it's not the right answer and you don't like that answer, and then you get them at another source, you call them and get the right. Maybe if the answer doesn't suit you, maybe that investment isn't for you. But just right, and just the fact that people still it's like the monkey touching the electric fence. Just because you're asking the same question over and over and you're expecting a different answer, one that suits your what you want, I think that's insanity. If you're not getting what you want, move on and find an investment that suits you.
You know, going along with the same thing is like honestly, I think it's crazy, and I see this with CYBL, and I know that everybody has bad days and they get mad. They're like, oh, Marc's a con artist or whatever. But look, if you own a lot of a stock, okay, like look, if you own, let's just say $10,000, $20,000, whatever the hell the math comes out to be of some stock, and all of a sudden you're having a bad day, and then you want to go on Twitter or StockTwits or whatever and start talking shit about this company, be like, oh, it's a scam. Like, you own this stock. Why would you be talking shit about a stock that you own and then you're mad that it doesn't go up? Like, I mean, like, really? Like, just if you have, like, look, the stock market is like this. If you're a shareholder and you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Like the golden rule. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, look, and it's
hard to do. I mean, like a lot of people, I get it. It's hard to do, especially when you're down.
100%. I mean, look, I'm not happy with every investment that I make. I mean, of course, I'd like to go in there. I'd like to wring some of these CEOs next. You know what I'm saying? But like, unfortunately, like, I'm not going to go on Twitter and be like, oh, this guy's a con man. Or I mean, look, I did with Optech because he did turn out to be a con man, and I sued and took over. But I'm just saying, like, for the most part, like, I'm not going to do that because, like, I have millions. And I mean, look, like ILUS, I mean, of course, I have complete faith in them and everything, but it's not like I would be like, oh, the stock price went down, 50% in the last, month or whatever. Like, oh, it's a scam now. I think Nick's a con man. Like, I would never say that. Like, you know what I mean?
Those mist nozzles were holograms. They didn't really exist.
See?
Brett, I'm gonna let you go, man. You've been an awesome guest, dude. I can't wait to have you back on. Thank you very much for being on the BFC, dude.
Thanks. I mean, I'm gonna have to start charging you pretty soon.
I don't know. We had a big ass show today, and I don't know. I don't
awesome.
know. Maybe. so thank you very much for coming.
Well, hey, I tried to join the thing, but it was I wasn't one of the first 25 people. So like they're like, sorry, it's closed. I'm like, this is super exclusive. I was like, wow.
Just spend the $20, you son of a bitch.
I was going to, and it wouldn't even give me the option.
We reopened it. We reopened it.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm in. Don't worry.
All right, sincere thanks, my friend, and I can't wait to have you back on.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, get this guy out of here. My gosh, it's always awesome, and we're going to talk about a couple more stocks. I'm on fire today. We're on fire. We're having a little bit of a good time. So I did want to discuss a couple more stocks that I put in the description in the tag, and I'm not just going to bait everybody in and not cover them. So I did want to talk about CGRA.
$100 billion.
I just had to do that one more time because I don't know. I just had to. So I did talk about them. They took a little heat on the old Twitter, basically. So I did want to talk about that. If I could pull up their Twitter, if I even have their Twitter pulled. My goodness. What did I do? Oh, come on. I don't have it pulled up. My goodness. What did I do? All right. Well, I'm going to find it right now, and I'm going to show it to you guys. Give me 1 second. See what happens, Rob. See growth. There we are. Boom. All right. So, they did take a little bit of a heat just because of all this. And, listen, I'm still long in this company. I have an average of 2 cents, so it's down considerably. And if you look, Nick Link does have, he has been doing these podcast updates, and I'm glad to see him active and updating people. And so, they said right here, and this is November 26th, we believe there's potential for multi-million metric tons of lithium here. Open cast, easily extractable, low strip. Stay tuned for the upcoming mining report. And then we hit this right here. We are ready to scale. We are not interested in $1 million revenue type companies, but revenues in excess of hundreds of millions or even billions in years to come. And they took a heat. And I'm not going to get into the comments section because I'm not into mudslinging. And you know what? I think a lot of shareholders, especially that are down, are feeling the frustration, but they want to be under promised and over delivered. That's what it comes down to for CGRA. And like I said, I plan on buying more shares at some point. I'm going to see how things progress. Savage Barbell. I did buy a Savage Barbell product. I thought the product was excellent. Actually, it's probably one of the best shirts I own. So kudos to Savage Barbell for having an excellent product. But I think that people don't want, like, we're going to be a $2 billion company. That's what they're worried about, because then they're like, all right, well, this isn't going to happen. Well, I think that's maybe their aspiration. In talking with Nick in person, I know that he wants to succeed and do all these things and make these companies great and retain these revenues of hundreds of millions of dollars. And he's going to build a beast. And no, it's not going to happen overnight. So I just want to give a shout out to all you guys, because I did bring CGA here to the channel, and I do want to acknowledge that. I'm not the kind of person that's not going to cover it, but yeah. So I know that some of you were upset about that tweet, and I did laugh when I was reading the comments. And Michael Singleton says CGI will be fine. I buy and hold for now. So yeah, it's just what what is this in the fancy cup? This is a nice big stein of water. Yes, you know what, you need it, especially when you're yip yapping like I do. But no, I thought we could start with that. CGRA bit. And listen, shout out to CGRA, Nick Lincoln, all you guys. No disrespect. I hope to have Mitchell Smith on the show one of these days. It'd be great to sit down with him. And like I said, I do think that they're shooting for the moon, but I know a lot of people get frustrated with those. We're gonna be a $1 billion company tweets, because we hear that all the time in the OTC, and we see rug pulls all the time, which I do not think CGRA is a rug pull. All right, that's just the truth. Now I want to get through these other two stocks because we've been at it for an hour and a half doing this, and it's been awesome. And I know Rob's like, he's ready to go. He's like done with this. He's like, this has been enough of the BFC for tonight. All right. So I do want to talk about BLEG. Flag. This has been added to the watch list. A market cap of 5.8 million, authorized share count of 1.5 billion, an outstanding share count of 1.3 billion, and most of them are restricted at almost a billion, and then we have the unrestricted at 400 million. So the share structure is not out of control. It's looking good, and I like what they're doing. They recently committed. They got a $1 million line of credit, and they affirmed there's going to be no reverse split, and they previewed upcoming investor engagement. And that's what they did here. This is great. I'm excited about this one. I don't know why, I just am, just based on what I'm reading. And it just goes on. The buyback and retirement of those preferred Class D shares is a strategic move to reinforce our shareholders' value by preventing dilution. We are committed to enhancing the appeal of our stock and ensuring a solid foundation for our company's future. And so that is always nice to see. And yes, I'm going through this rather quickly, but I promised I would cover this, so I'm gonna keep to my word. And Branded Legacy signs letter of intent to acquire $6 million in assets and additional facility space. And it goes on to talk about elements of this acquisition include a large-scale CO2-based extraction unit, a multifaceted refinement lab, a C1D1 certified synthesis unit, two fully automated gummy manufacturing units. Additionally, the facility is fully inspected, permitted, and ready for operation. And, last but not least, Dave Oswald, I had a great pre-call with him yesterday. It was great talking to him on the phone. We had a good half-hour conversation. I really liked his energy. He's going to be joining me on the BFC, and we're shooting for December 13th. We're going to have a sit-down with him, an open Q&A, so come with your questions. It's going to be exciting, and I hope to have you guys there. So good stuff. That's what we do. DD from the source. And let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the other one that we've added, CDIX. All right. I found this one. I just stock scan this every Sunday night, by the way, in the BFC Discord. We're only going to take 100. And just join. We're going to build up our swing room. We're going to be posting our top 10 stocks every Monday morning or Sunday night. I think we do our DD on Sunday night, but we'll be posting them on Monday morning. And we're pretty excited about that. And so this is one that we found last week, and I like what I see so far. There's a couple things. Let's get into that. It's a market cap of 748,000. a high authorized share count of 7.5 billion, nothing strange to the OTC, but their outstanding share count is sitting at 1.5 million, and the restricteds are 710, unrestricted 785 million. Moving on, recently they had just a little bit of news here talking about their third quarter financial highlights: 9.8% growth in the company's healthcare division, 83% gross profit margin in the company's healthcare division, up from 64% last year, drove consolidated gross profit margin to 79.6 for the quarter. Operating income increased 52% to 2.3 million, or 67% of sales, from 1.5 million, or 45% of sales in quarter three last year, due to a deliberate focus on higher margin business and disciplined cost containment. Net income increased 415% to 1.98 million from a loss of quarter three last year of 628,000. So that's always good to see. You want to see them. I like to see quarter on quarter growth. I know that a lot of you guys are focused on net profits and all, and that definitely matters. Don't get me wrong, but it's nice to see them like increase quarter over quarter and year over year. That's important. All right. And if companies are doing that in an economic pullback in a high inflationary period, a time when funding is hard to come by, and the funding and the lenders' conditions aren't favorable, that's a good thing. Now they did just announce this, that they announced reduction of convertible debt balance, and so the company has reduced its convertible debt balance with the payment of 2 convertible promissory notes originally issued to a single lender on February 9th, 2021 and April 26th, 2021, respectively. The total payment value of $175,000 is for complete and full settlement of both notes. Now, in looking, they do have other notes here. And did I even pull up the other notes? Here we go. No, that's not it. Oh, come on. Jeez Louise, I can't get it right. But there are other notes that are sort of, they still need to be paid. So I don't know what conditions they're going to have to get those notes out, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So that's and honestly, looking at the notes that I was looking at, it was nothing crazy. It wasn't like anything like, oh my gosh, this is like a crap ton of notes. It just seems like they're defunct on the payments. So and they're just postponed or whatever it is. I'm probably explaining this wrong. It's been a long day. So I don't know. That's what I got, but I like this one's on my list. I think it's closed at 0003. I may load into this one. I think I may load into this one at some point. Why not? But yeah, I apologize for not having that actual. I had a list of all their notes, and so shame on me. It got lost somewhere in on my slides here. So I'll make sure next time I cover CDIX, I do cover that, and I will have it. I did reach out to the company, so hopefully management does reach back, and we are able to have a sit down. You never know. And I think, guys, that's where we're at. Let me see. Jord, great seeing you. Sergi, Doug, great to see you guys. Man, this was a meaty show. I think we're done. I think we're done. I was going to cover IGPK, but I expected them to maybe put their financials out, but they have not yet. They said by the end of the month. Tomorrow is the end of the month. So Gene's been on the show multiple times. I did reach out to him. He was traveling, so he's going to hopefully reach back to me by the end of the week, and I'll keep you guys updated as it happens. Check out the Patreon. Check out the Twitter. Give this a like, share, subscribe. That's all I got. There's more that binds us than breaks us. You guys have a good night. Peace out.